So it's time for the weekend milk run, and this week I am actually in the Porsche. I'm in the 911, and it's the first time I've driven it in 2 whole weeks because I actually got round to refitting the exhaust tip that had fallen off. The bracket had broken or corroded away. I'd ordered the new one. I've had it for about 10 days, and I've just fitted it, and I've also been to the tip. So I've been sat in traffic for 45 minutes because it's Sunday and the weather is good and everybody's going to the tip. So I'm a little bit warm because just in case it overheated, which it hasn't done, I had the heater on cranked up to high just so the engine kept a good temperature, and it's actually been fine. But anyway, first I want to say thank you to everybody who's been sending in comments, who's subscribed, who's messaged me on Instagram. It's been really great to hear from all of those people. And also a big thank you to Michael Bath of porschecooled podcast. Joined him for another awesome chat last week, and which went out on Friday. And again, thank you to everybody who's been complimentary about that. I really enjoy those. And hopefully I'll be able to do it again next week. And someone trying to cut me off on the roundabout. Yeah, so I've missed driving the 911 for the 2 weeks. It is actually incredibly mucky, and the sunroof is now stuck because of the moss. Not that I ever open it. Sometimes I just try and open it just to see if it will, and it always has done, apart from this time. But anyway, the main reason I wanted to do this video was it is now it is 2 years since I bought this car. So, and I've been living with a high mileage Porsche 996 or a Porsche 911 for 2 years as my daily driver, apart from I've only done 5,000 miles in that time. That is mostly to do with, I think I did the first 8.5 months, I think I did about 3,500 miles. I did most of that mileage then. But then I started working in London, so I stopped driving it every day to work. Then also about 2 months after that, lockdown happened, so calling it my daily driver, sometimes I don't get in a car for days and days and days and days and days. So I've had to really get, make excuses to go out in this car. But the milk run means that I do get to go out once or twice a week to the shop, and I do take the slightly more scenic, long-winded route, such as this one. And getting it going again has been so good. I've been so pleased, and also the weather's getting better. It's starting to dry out, so I'm going to start putting the stuff back in the front because the spare wheel, all of the lining and everything have been out for absolutely months, and they're in the garage on top of my 912. So I need to do that, put that back in. I might do that today, but probably not because I've been out of the house for so long. I just want to go home. So 2 years. 2 years. What do I think after 2 years? Having had no experience of daily driving a 911 before that, or driving a 911. I'd only ever been in one 911 before that, and that was for 20 minutes as a passenger. So, apart from anything, I've loved driving it. I've actually really enjoyed driving it and doing that. And that never gets boring. It doesn't. Where I live, there's country lanes like this, and you can just do that up to the speed limit off every junction. You have to take precautions. Obviously, you have to look for, check the conditions, see if there's any roads or driveways coming out. If there aren't, then it's clear. But I've really loved it. I've really enjoyed owning this 911, enjoying it, driving it. At first there was that little bit of anxiety. What if something goes wrong with it? What if I bin it? What if I have to bin it? But the more I've driven it, the more confidence I've got in it. And also, because at first I always used to be worried about sitting in traffic and it would start pouring out coolant when it hit a certain temperature. And that was all to do with the cap. And stupidly, I did not know that. So I thought the expansion tank was leaking. So I went and got it changed. I just went down to Euro car parts. Maybe I didn't do enough reading, or I did do quite a lot of reading afterwards. But anyway, so I went down to Euro car parts. I bought a new expansion tank, put that on, and it did the same thing. So I went back to Jack, and he said, do you know what? It's the cap. So he kindly gave me another cap, put that on, but then the bottle wasn't OEM, so not very good, and it just popped a thread. So then I had to pay for an OEM instead of the first one I paid £150 for, and then Jack fitted it, and then I went and bought an OEM one, which was kind of £400, £350, and then had that fitted as well. So I've spent quite a lot of money on that expansion tank, which there was nothing wrong with. It was actually the cap. So it's been fine ever since. I've just been sat in traffic for 40 minutes and it's been absolutely fine. So I'm now pleased with that. And also, after 2 years, I'm still at £9,000. So I know I'm incredibly lucky that I was able to buy this for £6,500 or 6,550 to be exact, and I got a few things fixed on it. The air conditioning, I got a new tyre, had the brakes done. No, not the brakes done. What did I have done? Oh, the door didn't open. I fixed that. Mad motorcyclist going past, and this was broken. The hinge was broken on that. I fixed that. So there are quite a few things, but they weren't huge things, and I've driven it. What's the longest journey I've done it? I did 200 miles in one day, where I drove to my mum's house and back, 100 miles each way. It was absolutely fine. That was last summer when the weather was really hot and the air conditioning was doing its job. So that's been amazing. And again, I wouldn't say to anybody and everybody, oh, just go and buy one, blind buy it, get it delivered, and buy the cheapest one. I would say do some checks. You know, check that the power steering works properly, check the air conditioning works properly, check that no one's jacked up the air conditioning pipes, check that there's no obvious corrosion because they're now susceptible to it. The IMS, 1998, do you know what? If the car has over 100,000 miles and it's still going strong, and the previous owner has taken precautions, you know, getting the oil checked or whatever they've done, or even if they haven't and the car is working great, then I can't see that being a problem. The second generation, 996.2, I think is a bit different from what I've read. I don't know about those, but you know, this one has been fine, touch wood, and it's had the main seals was dripping when I bought it, but the more I used it, that drip disappeared and it just dried out. It's got a tiny power steering leak that if I leave it for a few days in the same spot, it will drip a little bit. But give it the beans. Yikes, that's the limiter. And other than that, it has been amazing. The things that have gone wrong are a couple of coil packs failed, and both of those I got Jack to change those because I'm lazy and I didn't want to change it myself. And he looked at those and they were so split that he suspects they're the original ones. So those have been changed out, and they were a little bit obvious. And I've had the oil changed, which is probably due for another oil change. I think the oil was changed probably about 14 months ago, but in that time I think I've done about 2,500 miles. So I'll probably get that changed anyway, and I've bought a new battery. So all of those things, I'm still at £9,000. Definitely under 10,000, but £9,000. And I've loved it. I know I don't clean it, and it looks a proper mess at the moment. And just, you know, it's got streams of dust and dirt and moss all over it, which is probably what's stopping the sunroof from opening. So I need to wash it. But it's been driving great. I would recommend it to anybody. Not this. I'm not selling this particular one. Originally, it was supposed to be a 1-year thing, and I was just going to sell it after that. But we sold our other daily, which was an Audi A3. I've said that already. It was because lockdown happened and we weren't going anywhere, and that car just sat there. Didn't use it at all. And if I was going anywhere by myself, I always went in this car. With the family, we went now Golf R. So there's just, why would I sell it? It's not really costing me a huge amount of money. I love driving it, and it's been, touch wood, reliable and enjoyable. The thing is, these roads, although they're country lanes, they are actually very bumpy, and when I leave it for a few weeks, the tire pressures they reduce a little bit, and it makes a huge difference to how it drives, or how it rides the bumps. And also it feels a bit jittery. Not jittery, it just feels a bit wrong. Something's not right. That's not a very good way of describing it. I imagine that as a Formula 1 driver. Oh, my lap time suffered because the car just didn't feel right. That's good feedback. It kind of doesn't ride the bumps properly, so it's not as enjoyable. So I just need to stay on top of that. But otherwise, it's been amazing. The problem is the prices have gone up quite significantly. And I guess if I polished it up, because it's got quite a lot of history, quite a big folder of service records, quite good ones. It's got, you know, probably about 25,000 miles ago, it's had a clutch, the IMS, the RMS. It's been regularly serviced from reputable places. There's been a few local garage type services, but it's got a lot of, but it's quite crusty. And I suspect I could still, if I was to put it up for sale, I'll probably still get 10 or 11 or 12. Because although it's rough looking, it's great fun to drive. And I don't abuse it, but I do use it. I use it like it's supposed to be used, I think. Safely, but I do give it the old spirited driving every now and again. I wish I could drive it more, apart from the milk run. But I guess when lockdown eases, that'll be a lot easier. Probably. I'm not going to be driving to work in it. So, because I work in London, and I'll be on the train. So that's going to be a bit rubbish. But otherwise, I think it's been pretty cool. It was a real pain fixing the exhaust tip, because you have to use both your hands and you have to be able to see what you're doing. And the only way to do that is to get under the car. And I really didn't want to do that, but in the end I did. I moved it to my driveway and got underneath, and it actually just took 5 minutes. So it ended up being quite an easy fix, which is good. So this car is just, I don't really talk a lot about this car on the videos, apart from just in passing, because, well, there's nothing wrong with it, and it drives great. And for a while I used to think, what's that metal clunking type noise? Something is broken, it's in the suspension, or there's something around the dash. It's not. Behind the mirror there's a metal ring, and it came loose, and it's still loose, and it rattles, and I just need to fix that again. Yeah, it's because I'm lazy. But I did clear the drain holes, which I've already said. I've put the mats back because it's now dry. So I just need to give it a really good clean. Inside isn't that mucky, but the outside really needs a clean. And then I'm going to, well, I just need to use it a lot more. But the other thing I need to do is I've decided, kind of, that I'm going to attempt to lower my 912 myself. Now, I've done a load of reading, and it goes between people saying, oh, well, you've got to do this measurement, that measurement, this way, that way, the angles between this and the hypotenuse and the c-squared Pythagoras, and whereas there's others who've done it and gone, oh, the spring plate, which is the bit that holds it up onto the torsion bar, just take that off, well, measure where it is, take it off, click it one up and click it back, and then bolt it back together. And on the, do you have to do that on the both sides though? Because it's the same torsion bar that you're connected to. Would it not just settle evenly on both sides? But I could give that a go. I thought about putting the adjustable spring plates on. They are £200 for each side, which is a fuckload of money when I could just take the time to adjust it. And once it's adjusted, I'm not going to move it again. But they would be cool things to have, but it's a lot of money, and I'm trying to do everything on a budget. The front is just a bolt. Adjust it, push it down, tighten it slightly back up, and you're done. So I need to get around to doing that, but I have got it booked in to do some welding, because you know that bolt where I was going to put the 3-point seat belt broke off. I'm going to get that welded on both sides, but I am going to get a bolt or a nut welded in there, so I can put those seat belts on. But I also have bought some lap belts, so I could just put those on, but I'm going to get those welded in anyway because it makes sense. And then I need to do a tune-up, and then it will be awesome. And the weather's getting better, there's going to be no salt on the roads, and I can start driving it, and it's going to be awesome. I still don't want to drive it in the rain, because even if it's rusting, I don't want to get it wet, because it'll just sit in my garage rusting, which will be rubbish. And also I have really enjoyed there's someone in, I think that was, no, never mind who that was, that's for another day. And should I take this scenic route? Do you know what, I think I will. Let's go this way, which is a slightly different route. I hope there are no crazy cyclists, and it's a clear road. Oh my goodness, that is such good fun. Now, I did think about, why don't I go and test drive like a new 911 or a GT3 or something? No, I can't be asked doing that, because it's not going to be as much fun, because I will not legally and safely be able to push it this hard on a public road. And what's the point then? So, but I did think about driving or possibly buying a Boxster, but I'd have to replace one of my other cars, and the only one that I can think of would be my MG, which is now in storage anyway, so, and then I'd have to put another car into storage, so it's all too complicated. So I'm going to stick with the cars that I've got: my 1968 MGB Roadster, my 1998 996, and my 1966 Porsche 912, which I'm going to use a lot more, and it's a 200SX, Nissan 200SX. Wow, that's a blast from the past. And the Golf R, which is the family workhorse. So if I drop a gear, oh my goodness, that's so good. This route is a little into a village. But anyway, so that's the enjoyment. I can drive for the milk run. This is rather a long drive because I've kind of gone out and around the village that I need to go to for the milk. Now, everybody must think he's just making this up, he's going to get milk, but I am actually going to get milk. And this is the kind of drive that I have. You can just, there's a clear road, you can just accelerate really hard up to the speed limit. It's immense fun, and when you get out, you're still looking at a 911, and it's parked outside your house. At the end of the day, it's still a 911. And do you know what? Everyone can say, oh, but it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. Well, you know what? Everyone hated the 964 when it came along. In fact, everyone hated it until not that long ago. And then suddenly, everyone's resto modding them, or backdating them, or turning them into a Singer, or a Singer lookalike, or a Theon. Theon is another company that is up the road from me. Look them up. I think his name's Adam Hawley, the guy who, they call them recreations. Recreations? I think they're called recreations. They restore or do a Singer-like re-engineering, but it's a bit closer to the original, whereas a Singer is completely and utterly re-engineered. Whereas the Theon, I believe it is re-engineered to a certain extent, which makes it more drivable, more easier to live with, and I mean, it's still a reliable car. The 964 is not that old, so it's not that much older than this car, but it's still air-cooled, and it's still got, you know, some modern engineering in it. So if someone like Theon go and then they do all of this work to it and make it more drivable, a little more power, and you know, they renew the engine, there's lots of engine options that you can get, go and look at the website, and then but it still looks like a early 70s 911, ends up looking like that. So it's Singer-esque, and I don't know if I'd want one of those though. I don't know. Driving wise, what's it going to give me more than I get out of this? I'm talking, you know, not money, no object, because money is an object because I don't have any. But also then you become, you know, it costs so much money, it's probably hundreds of thousands of pounds, whereas I still love the fact that I can just park this anywhere. I can literally just park it anywhere. I don't worry about it. Hopefully no one's going to come and key it or anything like that, because that would still be upsetting. And in the summer I can give it that one wash, polish, and it looks awesome. And it's still a great looking car. I don't care about the lights really. From the back it's still a great looking car. Bloody speed bumps. Still a great looking car from the back, from the side, from the front I'm not really that bothered. So yeah, I'm just rambling now. But so after 2 years of having this a budget high mileage 996, would I recommend it? Absolutely. I'd do a bit more checking than I did, and I would not buy it like I did. So you do some, you know, some minor checks just to make sure that it's not about to explode or is already knackered. And there's loads of high mileage ones out there, but the prices have gone up, and then you go, well, if I bought mine for 6,550 and then suddenly, bumpy roads, if I'm in the market for one now, and I think it's going to cost, I don't know, 12 to 15,000 pounds for a crusty 996, I would think twice. But at the same time, the times are different. So you'd go, well, actually, I do want a 996, and it's going to cost a fair amount of money, and it's actually no, that's wrong. It's not going to cost a fair amount of money. It's still fairly bargainous. The only problem is if it goes kaput, you can't get your money back. You're gonna have to suck up the loss, which I would have to do now if this broke. Yeah. On another note, is it me or are there just less petrol heads around? I don't know. Because there's not that many people that I can talk to about old cars or cars in general. Because a lot of people talk about modern cars or everyday cars. But if I said to somebody, there's some people who'll be snobs and they'll go, oh, 996. There's others who'll go, oh, you've got the 996. Whereas some will say, it's a Porsche. I have no idea. It just looks like a Porsche. And I am not concentrating on what I'm saying because I'm enjoying driving the car, and I need to drive it more often. I'm waffling. I'm sorry about the waffle. But I can't wait to do the lowering of the 912. I've bought I think I said that in the last video, the phone holder that I need to put on. But do I put that on now, or do I take the clock out and fix it, or get it fixed? I think I should take the clock out. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling and just enjoy my driving now.